Hey guys, in this video we're going to learn how to eat devil's claw. So in the first part of this video, we were out in the field, we looked at how to identify, we talked about some of its edible uses, and here we've harvested some immature devil's claw seed pods and some of the mature seed pods, which we're going to extract the seeds out of and grind it into flour. I'm going to show you how it's made. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a vegetable brush and we're going to brush off all of the gnats and dirt that has stuck to these little pods, and we're going to start with these. So check it out. Okay, the first thing we do while we brush these off is we're going to go ahead and put a pot of water on to boil, because the first thing we're going to do is boil the pods after we brush them for about 10 minutes. Okay, so now we brought these to a boil. We're going to go ahead and add a little bit of salt, and then we're going to let these bad boys parboil for about 10 minutes just to make sure that we have leached all of the bitter flavor out of it. Okay, we ended up boiling them for about 5 minutes instead of 10 per my wife's orders. She knows best, so she says they were getting a little soft. She didn't want to ruin them. So next we're going to put a little bit of butter into the pan. So now we're going to saute them. Again, my wife has corrected me. This is not frying, okay, even though it's a frying pan. We're going to saute them, not fry them, until they are starting to get a little bit brown on the outside, okay? All right, they're about done. So we're going to go ahead and throw them on the plate, let them cool down, and we'll give them a try. All right, I'm going to give it a try. Oh yeah, really good. They're really mucilaginous, very comparable to okra. They do have a bitter flavor, so there's no fishy, like funky, nasty flavor, but it is just bitter, okay, a little bit bitter. Not so much you can't enjoy it though. Fried in butter, add a little salt, brown it a little bit, and it's gonna be delicious. The next part of devil's claw we're going to learn to process is the seeds. Now the seeds are really hard to extract out of the little pods. These little pods are extremely tough and difficult to open up with your hands. So you can split them open. You see here we have a white seeded variety. They're usually black, but this one's white. And a few seeds will come out, okay? Right when you split it open, a few will come out. But most of the seeds are actually in here, and you would have to have fingers of steel to be able to pry this open. There's really not a whole lot you can do. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the blender, and that's not really the best way to process these, but it's really the only way I know how. Without electricity, you can beat the pods, but they're so hard that most of the seeds, really only a third of the seeds, will come out compared to it putting in the blender. So we're actually going to start clipping all these little hard thorny parts off so it can fit in the blender. You can see even these are really, really tough fibers, and they will really make your blender do some work. So you've got to keep that in mind. This isn't the best way to do things, but it's just the only way I know how. Okay, I'm going to break this little top section off too, and we're going to put that right into the blender. Run our first batch through the blender, and the way this is I sort of do it once or twice, maybe even 3 times, and pour the seeds out after each time it goes around, and that lessens the amount of seeds that get disintegrated by the blender itself. Usually they just sort of fall in the bottom. So let's go ahead and do the first one. A lot of seeds start coming out of there, mostly seeds, and then some disintegrated parts of the pods, which I'll show you how we separate. Pretty easy. Okay, and this is, again, I just want to reiterate, this is not something I would normally do. This is gonna ruin my blender if I was to do this all the time. So I'm just demonstrating what you would do if you really needed the food. Alright, I think that's going to probably be good for this batch. So we will go ahead and take that out. And we'll just go ahead and throw everything in that bowl. Just like that. Then we're going to start separating it. So we can put all of the spent pods. Now again, most of the seeds didn't even come out of these. Okay, so they're mostly filled with seeds, but there's nothing we can really do, as you can see, to get them out. They're just so hard and so tough that they're gonna break the blender before the seeds ever even come out. So we're just gonna see what we did get though at the bottom. Quite a few seeds did come out and a lot of debris. Okay. So you can see all the seeds mixed in there. So here's what we're gonna do. Okay, so what we need to do is simply winnow away all of the little tiny pieces of things that aren't seeds. So the way we're gonna do that is just by blowing very gently. And traditionally this type of thing was done usually on a windy day with a very slight breeze, and then they were poured with lots of different things in wild food. They're just poured from one cup to another, and that gentle breeze takes a lot of it away. But for small batch you can just do something like this. Maybe a few of the seeds will fall off, but for the most part you're going to save most of them doing this, and we can start picking out the bigger little pieces of the skin, the dried up skin, and the little pieces of the pod that broke off. If you get a little bit of that in, you know, it probably isn't going to be a big deal. It's going to be more unpleasant than anything. Hey guys, if you like this video so far, thank you so much for watching. Consider hitting that little subscribe button and hitting the like button. It really helps me out, helps more people see this information, and helps more people get self-sufficient. So thank you so much again for watching, and let's continue with the video. So as you can see, about 95% of all the stuff that we started with is gone, and we can go in there and pick out other little pieces of fibrous material. But regardless, these things for the next couple steps are going to get pretty much powderized anyway, so I will show you the next step in the process. Okay, so here's the amount of seeds that we're left with, and we got this from this amount of pods. And most of these pods are completely still full of seeds, so we're going to keep them and actually try to return them to the place we got them next time we go hiking out there. Okay, and just to give you an idea of what's actually inside the seed, we have these little sesame seed sized kernels on the inside, and then this outer part here is the indigestible kind of chaff that's around the seeds. So these seeds are high in oil, and what we're going to do next is we're going to take them and put them into this cast iron pan that's on medium heat, and this is the part where you can really mess up and you can burn these. So what we're going to do is we're going to shake these just almost constantly for about 2 minutes, and that's going to toast the seed that's on the inside. This is the make or break. They can burn really, really quick, and you won't even necessarily notice they're burned until you taste them and they'll have a burned taste. So 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes, and we never really want to let them sit for more than 10 to 15 seconds before we shake them again. Okay, these seeds have only been on for about 1 minute. When I pick one up though, very carefully pick one up, I can feel that they're really hot. So I know that that seed in there, the kernel on the inside is getting toasted, so I'm just about to take them off. Okay, now that we've lightly toasted or parched the seeds, we're gonna go ahead and pour them into this coffee grinder, and we're gonna grind them up for a long time, as long as we can. And because this plant is so fibrous and has such strong fibers, even the little outer chaff is on a lot of them is not gonna grind up all the way. And so you'll see after it's ground, it'll be easy to separate the powdered up kernels from the chaff. Okay, here's our first batch. Smells a lot like sunflower seeds with a little bit of a sort of toasted smell, sort of like popcorn kernels and sunflower seeds. That's the flavor profile I get from this. There you go. And now we're gonna separate all of this chaff from all this powder. Let me show you how I do that. Okay, now that we've ground it up, we can go ahead and put it through this little basket strainer. And now we'll just start shaking it. Okay guys, so this is what we're left with. It's definitely got some fiber in it, but it's this nice, oily, thick sort of flour. And you can see how oily it is because it kind of sticks together. And now, you know, this isn't going to be the most pleasant thing in the world to eat because it does have all those little fibers in there. You're going to get a little itchy, scratchy on the throat. But, you know, even though this thing is time consuming, I think in the instance of something like a famine or a time where people really needed the food, you know, this is going to work for us. Native Americans in the desert regions usually had a really high percentage of different seeds, various types of seeds in their diet. And when we're talking about wild seeds, pretty much they're pretty much all tedious to harvest, they're tedious to process. That's just sort of the life behind it. That's why they're not really eaten today, because there's other foods like corn and wheat that are way more easy to process than things like wild grains and stuff like that. Oh, I'm gonna try some of this out. Yeah, and it tastes just like sunflowers. Actually, the flavor is really good, but you can see the amount of food we got for the amount of work. It's not really proportional. So there you go. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time. I could eat this all day. They're pretty good. They're really oily, huh?
Yeah.
Actually, this time it's not really itching my throat for the little pieces in there, so that's good.
Any more filming?
Nope.